We are live, my friends.
There's a fire burning, and it's spreading, and time is running out. A broken criminal system, further hijacked by the demands of the mob, whose reckless rhetoric to defund and dismantle police drove away many of our finest, and it emboldened criminals more than ever before. And those we placed our daily trust in let even the most violent back out onto our streets, failing to keep them behind bars. And so even more lives and businesses were lost, more families torn apart, engulfed with grief and loss, and our communities only became more divided. We are on a perilous and dangerous course set ablaze as the largest county in Minnesota. The people demand justice based upon facts and the law. They deserve a leader who will be a champion of safety, to protect our families by holding violent criminals accountable, to prosecute violence and the most vehement offenders, to ensure they're not let back onto our streets again. It's time to restore the rule of law instead of living daily with violence, incinerated with carjackings, assaults, and shootings. Our children are paying too high of a price. It's time for true justice that no longer surrenders to the demands and pressures of the mob who burn down our police precincts, but never again. Never again, most of all because we must stop this fire from burning and spreading for the ones we love, so that their futures may be safe and secure when we are no longer here to protect them. And never again can we let those who merely seek higher office for self-gain to rule atop their hyper-political thrones that have let our communities burn by putting their political agendas first and the safety of our neighborhoods last. Never again. Our county is home with friends and family and people from many backgrounds, rich in diverse cultures and Minnesota history. And though lately it seems we disagree on so much, together we can be safe again. And that alone is worth fighting for. Together, we will have safer streets again. Together, we will have safer neighborhoods again. Together, we can have a safer Hennepin County. Together, we can leave the past and its painful wreckage behind and stop this fire from burning and spreading and make crime illegal again.
Audiences of Dubbi Oromo, meaning Oromo Affairs in English, welcome to the show. Today I have a special guest, Jude, a former judge, now running for Hennepin County Attorney. Judge Jude, welcome to my show. I appreciate you for coming.
Thank you, Ace, and I'm honored and privileged to be here tonight, and I look forward to the interview.
Wonderful. You're going to talk to East African audiences mostly today, and a lot of new immigrants, and also all of my friends from around the world, anybody who likes my show.
Well, thank you for the invitation, and I'm looking forward to the conversation that we have.
You know why I was so excited to talk to you, Todd? You were a Democrat
Yes.
a long time ago when you were
yes,
young.
I was born and raised a Democrat.
Right. When you were young, I was born a Democrat, I suppose. I was raised as a Democrat, too. When I got educated, I changed for the better. What made you change?
Well, when I was very young, it seemed like all the very, very old money wealth was held by families like the Bloombergs and the Rockefellers and the Daytons. And you had the intelligentsia, they all seemed to be Republican.
Right.
And then the rank and file, hardworking Minnesota families all seemed to be what they called the DFL, the Democrats. And in Minnesota, they call it the Democratic Farmer Labor Party. And the DFL no longer represents the mainstream Minnesotans,
Right.
the people who are doing the hard work.
Right.
But it seems like the Bloombergs and the Rockefellers and the Daytons are more likely to be Democrats.
Right.
And if you're a mainstream Minnesotan, a hardworking family, you're more likely to be a Republican now.
Right.
And
Right.
certainly that reflects what I see in Hennepin County, that we have many mainstream Minnesotans. And you're speaking of new immigrants from East Africa.
Mm-hmm.
And many of the immigrants from East Africa, the Oromo community, and others that have immigrated here are looking for opportunity. They're looking for freedoms,
Mm-hmm.
and that's what I believe the Republican Party offers. And many conservative Democrats are supporting me as well,
For sure.
because actually running for Hennepin County Attorney is a nonpartisan race. So
Mm-hmm.
I've got Republicans supporting me, and then I have independents, and I have Democrats that are looking for safe streets and safe neighborhoods, and just being able to go to the grocery store, go to the
Mm-hmm.
park, get on the bus, go on light rail, and not
Mm-hmm.
have to worry about needles, not have to worry about their own safety, being assaulted by a violent criminal or carjacking.
Right.
Many conservative Democrats just want to have a safe neighborhood. So they're interested in supporting me for Hennepin County Attorney, along with all the Republicans who would like to make crime illegal again.
For sure. For sure. In general, a human being always wants to be free. All humans, no matter what background they come from, a human
And
being, a person wants to be
one
free.
thing I've noticed is that Republicans seem to treat everyone as an individual with their own
Mhm.
rights, their own ability to think for themselves and determine their own destiny. And oftentimes the other party will look at people as groups, and everybody in the group has to think alike, and that predetermines your place in life is what group you belong to.
For
Well, that's
sure.
not true in our country, and it's not true in our state. You can determine your own future.
For sure.
You can work hard. You can study. We have so many educational opportunities, and if you look at the educational opportunities that people have and can take advantage of, oftentimes they're not provided by government. They're provided, even street learning. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
what you learn every day by getting out of bed can be of so much benefit to you.
100%. For sure. So on my show, I get the audiences engaged a lot through their comments. The audiences are feel free to ask questions as usual through your comments. Any good questions that show up or any meaningful comments and statements, I will share them on the screen as you can see at the bottom. Here, AJ Oromo says, I think I'm about to switch the side from DFL to GOP. So a lot of
Okay.
people are what you're saying. They want to be free. They're just tired of the Democrats' promise that never gets delivered.
Yeah, we've had the DFL has really lost virtually all the farmers,
Mm-hmm.
and many of the laborers who work with their hands have
Mm-hmm.
left the DFL because it just seems like they haven't represented their interests very well of working men and women
Right.
in the state. And I do have a lot of conservative Democrats and conservative DFLers who are just interested in safe streets and safe neighborhoods supporting my candidacy, because running for Hennepin County Attorney, it's nonpartisan.
Right.
We have a primary coming up on August 9th.
For sure.
And August 9th, you can vote on the front side of the ballot. You have to vote all Democrat or all Republican
Right.
on the front side of the ballot. But then you turn the ballot over. And you can even vote early right
Mm-hmm.
now.
Right.
And you turn the ballot over, and they're nonpartisan races. So you have your county offices on the back of the ballot.
Mm-hmm.
And for county attorney, you have 7 candidates.
Right.
And I'm the one that happens to be a Republican, but it really makes no difference whether
Right.
you're a Democrat or Republican. You can vote for any of those candidates
For
on the
sure.
back.
For sure.
And I would encourage you to vote for Tad Jude
Mm-hmm.
because I believe my candidacy is the one that represents bringing back a safer Hennepin County and safer streets and safer neighborhoods.
Right. Most people are used to getting a lot of explanations from legislators, people that are running to make legislation. Like, so they don't understand what the role of county attorneys are. What are the roles of county attorney?
The current county attorney is a gentleman named Mike Freeman.
He's been
Mike
there for
Freeman
28 years.
and Amy Klobuchar, the two
Mm-hmm.
of them, have been county attorney in Hennepin County for 30 years.
Right.
So during that time, the county attorney's office has grown stale. It's
Uh-huh.
become calcified, I would
Right.
say, and it's time for a new set of eyes.
Right.
So we have 7 candidates who've come forward,
Mm-hmm.
and I believe I'm the best qualified. If you look at my background, I lived and breathed the courtroom for 11 years, and
Mm-hmm.
that meant handling criminal trials and civil trials, jury trials and non-jury trials. I handled anything that would walk in the courthouse door. And I've done that for 11 years. But before that, I was on the Hennepin County Board. I was on the board that runs the Hennepin County Law Library.
Mm-hmm.
And then I was in the legislature.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think I could work with the county board
Mm-hmm.
and work with the legislators in trying to come up with solutions to some difficult problems we've got.
Right.
And those problems are like fentanyl. Fentanyl has been brought in here by drug dealers and it kills people. And we have carjackings, oftentimes at gunpoint. And
Right.
we need to address carjackings.
Mm-hmm.
We have a big hole where juvenile facilities used to be. We don't have a county homeschool. We don't have St. Joseph's Home for Children. There's a big hole there.
Right.
And we have a big hole for people who need mental health services. We used to have state hospitals for people who needed mental health services. That gaping hole needs to be addressed by the Hennepin County Board and by the legislature. You asked, what does a county attorney do?
Right.
County attorney prosecutes serious crime in
Mm-hmm.
Hennepin County. Now, some crime is so serious it's prosecuted by the U.S. attorney. Andrew Luger is the U.S. attorney for Minnesota now. But
Mm-hmm.
most serious crime, let's say a homicide or a rape or first-degree assault, many of those are prosecuted by Hennepin County attorney.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes there's a grand jury. The grand jury decides whether or not to bring charges. Sometimes it involves a critical incident involving a peace officer. And that's what you had, for example, with the Derek Chauvin, George Floyd situation.
Right.
The Hennepin County attorney initially was involved in that, and then the attorney general grabbed that case, took it up to the attorney general's office.
Mm-hmm.
So the county attorney prosecutes serious crime. It
Right.
also represents the county board. It takes appeals to the Court of Appeals. It looks at juvenile justice cases. It has cases in the juvenile detention center and other juvenile justice type issues like terminating parental rights. Those are terrible cases where parents aren't able to be good parents, and the county has to step in to avoid having child abuse going on in the county.
Right.
We have civil commitment cases where people lose their rights because they're not able to take care of themselves.
Mm-hmm.
They're not able to feed themselves or clothe themselves or take care of their finances. So the county attorney gets involved in some of these cases. So it has a civil division and a criminal division, but any serious crime would tend to go to the county attorney's office.
For sure.
And we have many attorneys. We have at least 200 attorneys.
Right. Are you the boss for all of them? If you get elected?
I would be the face of the Hennepin County Attorney's Office.
For sure.
And what I would ask criminal attorneys to do is look at the facts, look at the law, and look at the evidence. So you look at the facts, the evidence, and the law, and you apply the law. And you do that without fear or without favor. So
Right.
you're taking politics out of it.
Exactly.
And you're just pursuing the facts, looking at what the evidence is that the police have brought in, and then you apply the law. And the law is set by the legislature and the governor.
Right.
So the legislature and governor set the law.
Mm-hmm.
And if you become subject to a federal crime, then of course the U.S. attorney gets involved there, and they apply the federal law. That's set by Congress and by the president.
For sure. I like it how your focus is on making the streets safer again.
Absolutely. We've
Yeah.
just had a terrible year in Minneapolis. We had 100 homicides last year, and many of them involved children 10 years or under. I believe there were 8 cases recently involving children. They may have been jumping on a trampoline, or they may have been riding in a car, or even eating dinner or sleeping, and they're hit by a stray bullet.
Right.
Oftentimes they're not the subject. They're not being aimed at, but they pay the price because they're the victim of the crime. And we have to address that. I would aggressively go after illegal guns or stolen guns. But I do support the Second Amendment. That's one area where I think you have a tendency, some people think of all the rights in the Constitution except the Second Amendment. That's what that empowers citizens to defend themselves in their home and in their business. So it's important to have that right, the Second Amendment, and to recognize that that's a part of our U.S. Constitution.
For sure. For sure. I just want to get some elaboration of a Second Amendment, because politicians like Ilhan Omar, who came from the same region I came from, East Africa, I got kicked out of Ethiopia because Oromo people, we don't have right to own guns, or we don't have right to defend ourselves. Same thing in Somalia. Lack of guns kicked Ilhan Omar out of East Africa. And now these people, when they get to America, and they're saying American citizens don't need right to self-defense. They don't need right to own a gun. And that's one of the main reason why I'm Republican. Our right to self-defense. What can you say on that? What would you advise to new immigrants who came to America and they're confused about the Second Amendment? Because from the Democrat side, sometimes we hear a lot of whistling that, this Second Amendment is based on racism, and it wasn't intended for you to own it. If they cut you with a gun, even though you have a license, you can get punished for it.
I will apply the law and the Constitution equally to everyone, regardless of your race or your religion or your ethnicity, or if you're a protected status. I will apply the Constitution and the law equally. What really distinguishes our country as a country are all the freedoms that we have, all the opportunities we have, and the right to protest. That's something you don't see in a lot of countries, where you can protest your government.
Right.
And we have that right in our country. And it's very important that we protect all the rights of the Constitution, including the Second Amendment. The First Amendment, the freedom of speech, freedom of religion, all the rights that come with being an American citizen are so important. and they really set us aside from many of the other countries in the world. If you go to some countries, everybody has to think alike. Everybody, the government dictates how you think in some countries. They have a commission on truth, for example.
Right.
Yeah, if you have a commission on truth, that government commission tells you how you have to think.
Right.
We don't have that in our country, thank God.
That's where we came from.
And that's why it's so important that we protect those rights, including the Second Amendment, because that gives every citizen the authority to be a full citizen and to participate fully and exercise your right to vote. What I found in a primary, August 9th, a lot of people don't vote in primaries.
They don't.
So because so few people vote in the middle of summer in a primary, your vote actually counts more because there are fewer people voting.
Right.
So if you can get out and vote early, I would encourage you to do that. But if you don't get out and vote early, make sure you get out and vote on August 9th, because your vote actually will weigh a lot more than even your vote in November, because there are so many more people voting in November.
How is your campaign looking for the primaries night in August?
I am really optimistic. I just went through a parade in Maple Grove tonight, and the reception I thought was fantastic. People are excited, and they do want to make crime illegal again. That's something that came up over and over along the parade route, that people are fed up with carjackings, and they're fed up with feeling insecure in their neighborhoods and on the streets. So I sense that people are going to be voting, even if they're Democrats, for someone who's just going to enforce the law. You look at what happened in the 3rd precinct 2 years ago. It was just so sad to see a precinct brought down. And it was, I don't know if that's happened. I can't think of it happening in any other city, where a precinct has been just given up. And it was chaos. And I look at the 4th of July in downtown Minneapolis. The 4th of July, a lot of people say, well, you shouldn't prosecute small crimes like fireworks. Well, what happens is sometimes the fireworks grow and they become commercial grade rockets. And they're aimed at people, and they're aimed inside cars, and they're aimed from cars at other cars, and they're aimed at apartments. That's not a low-level crime. When you're endangering lives, that's not a low-level crime.
Right.
So it's so important, I think, that there be an appropriate consequence, and it should be done fairly rapidly after there is a crime. Even on buses, light rail, you have needles, and you have human waste. You've got assaults. That's keeping other people from going on the buses, light rail, and you're just having a squalor type situation emerge. And people don't want to live in squalor. They want to live in some type of order. So what's so important in our country is to exercise your rights, but to do so in an orderly manner so that the rights of other people are respected as well.
For sure.
And to have that balance. It's important to have that balance. And that's what distinguishes our way of government, our way of life.
I was very surprised on that July 4th. I saw that video. It's unreal. One of the fire really went into the building, it looked like. It was at night too. You can't tell who's doing it. But I'm not sure why the police was not present, why those people were not caught.
Well, from what I understand, only one person was charged, as far as I know, on July 4th. Now, there was bloodshed over on Boom Island Park. There were 8 people injured by gunfire over at Boom Island Park. It was an unregulated party, not put on by the city or anything. But Boom Island Park has been known as a place for families to go and to have picnics and to do so in the shadow of our magnificent downtown Minneapolis. Stone Arch Bridge has been a place where people go to see the skyline and to celebrate St. Anthony Falls. Someone was shot after a wedding party through no fault of their own. And I think it was a stray bullet that shot this person and killed him. So it's very sad. I've met with parents of students at the University of Minnesota who are very concerned about what's happening in Dinkytown, happening on the West Bank, happening on campus, Stadium Village even, where you have phones that are being taken and confiscated at gunpoint or carjackings, and of course, just stray bullets. So it's very important that we address livability crimes because livability, I believe, degenerates if it isn't addressed.
Yeah, it's very sudden what's happening, especially in Hennepin County. Ramsey's just a little bit better, just a little, but both of the counties, one thing I know about them is highly Democratic run county. For instance, when George Floyd was killed, and I was very disappointed and very shocked that they didn't prosecute the bad police. It took them until the population gets angry. Population got out, it started burning the cities down, and then they decided to prosecute when it's too late. Now, the governor is a Democrat, same party with the attorney general. The mayor is a Democrat, same party. The city council, out of 12, 11 of them are all Democrats. There is one independent in there. The police chief was a Democrat. The county attorney, Mike Freeman, is a Democrat. So all the power was in their hands to make that difference. Why? Can you explain to me why they didn't do this? Like, why they let our city burn down?
I don't know of a good explanation of what happened with the riots that destroyed Lake Street and destroyed the 3rd precinct. I don't believe there is a good explanation for the delay. And all my life, I have seen the city of Minneapolis work with Hennepin County, work with the state troopers, and with the National Guard, if necessary, and have mutual aid agreements with neighboring cities. I have a son who is a firefighter with the city of Fridley. If there are fire needs in the city of Minneapolis, oftentimes you would call neighboring cities to cover. So you could call Columbia Heights, you could call Brooklyn Center, you could call Brooklyn Park, and you'd have their fire departments help the city of Minneapolis if they needed their help. That wasn't done. They didn't call neighboring sheriff departments. They didn't call neighboring police departments. It was a complete failure and collapse of authority. There was a complete failure. It was like there was no order, and that created.
Dad, you're here.
Yeah, we got help, but it created a serious problem, and I don't know. The governor, of course, will need to address this. I'm sure he will in his campaign for re-election. But I had seen the governor. He was signaling that the Columbus statue was going to be attacked, and the Minnesota Patrol was out there observing.
Right.
As the statue came down on the actual Capitol Mall. And I know that there are people that have what they'd consider to be legitimate reasons for not wanting to have statues on the Capitol Mall, but that's not the way to bring a statue down and remove it from the Capitol Mall.
Right.
and destroying the 3rd Precinct and Lake Street and all the businesses and all the services that people depend upon as a way of demonstrating your displeasure with city government. I think it was just a travesty.
Right.
And everything seemed to be 3 days late. The National Guard did come in, but it was 3 days late. Unfortunately, many people lost their businesses and many people lost the services that makes life good in the city of Minneapolis as a result of that.
Right.
So it was so devastating in so many ways.
Yeah, it was very devastating.
And it happened on the governor's watch. It happened on the mayor's watch. And I have no good explanation for it.
Does the county attorney has the power to prosecute the officers based on that video?
Absolutely. The county attorney would be the first place where you'd look for prosecuting serious crime, and certainly a homicide is a serious crime. And the court system did work in the George Floyd case, but it shouldn't work as a response to riots.
Right,
it shouldn't work as a response to civil attorneys asking for a big payout.
Right.
That shouldn't drive the criminal justice system. It should work based upon the facts, based upon the evidence, and based upon the law. So there has to be some insulation of the criminal justice system from politics. Mm-hmm. Now, as county attorney, I will be involved in the community. In fact, as a judge, I was oftentimes the only judge that was at the courthouse during the pandemic. So I would see anything that came in the courthouse doors. Right. If they needed somebody on site, I was the judge that was there. Mm-hmm. And that's what I'll do as county attorney. I will be in the office. I will be available. And at the same time, I will be responsive by being involved in the community. But I will let the professionals do their job in evaluating cases based upon the facts, based upon the evidence, based upon the law. And that's something the professionals will do. Now, if there's a conflict because we work with police departments, then I'd have to farm it out to another attorney that wouldn't have that conflict, another county attorney.
Right. Oh, yeah.
It might go up to the Attorney General's office under some circumstances.
Right.
And we might have to use a grand jury sometimes. A grand jury would be a group of like 24 citizens from across Hennepin County. It should reflect the face of Hennepin County. Mm-hmm. We should have recent immigrants on there. We should have members of different communities on a grand jury. But they would be a sounding board for the county attorney.
Right.
And they would be able to check and involve the community in decisions made by the county attorney. And we do the same with juries. I would not tolerate in any fashion discrimination based upon race or religion or age or your economic ability or any other protected status or your sex. We would need to have juries that reflect the county.
Right.
And that's very important. And then those jurors would have to evaluate the evidence that comes into trial. They have to have a unanimous verdict. And everybody has to agree to have a conviction. Mm-hmm. That's a high bar. You know, that's a high bar for the county attorney to meet.
For sure.
And I'd work on training police in best practices. So, you know, everybody has body cams now, but it's very important that police be updated on the latest techniques that are safe both to the victims, to the perpetrators, and to the police, that we have safety as an utmost objective. And that's something I would work on. I'd also work with the police to what kind of evidence has to come in. What would pass the smell test with the jurors? I'd work with the police in that capacity.
Mm-hmm. With the candidates you're running against, are any of them to defund the police? Because now even Joe Biden says, the solution is to fund the police.
It's amazing. There's a candidate who Ilhan Omar and Keith Ellison is really supporting that most people feel would dismantle the police and dismantle the county attorney's office. Certainly defund the police. And Ilhan Omar and Keith Ellison were behind that proposal in the city of Minneapolis. And every community I speak with, and many are minority communities, and they've had so many people victimized by violent criminals. They do not want to defund the police.
Mm-mm.
And that's something that going to work to make sure that we have good policing and adequate policing and have the ability to solve crimes. It's unfortunate that less than 40% of the homicides are being closed. It used to be 80 and 90% of homicides were closed by police. We need to have investigators. We need to have people who can get the evidence so that we're having a more successful rate in closing homicides. There are many families out there that are asking for answers.
Right.
And we need to help the victims of crime.
Speaking of that, 3 Oromo youth were shot. Young youth, young boys were shot. A college freshman. It happened in Minneapolis on Riverside. Their case was just closed. Like you said, it was never investigated. They never got justice to this day.
Oh, that's sad. That is so sad. And I've been hearing this over and over again of young people that are shot. And it's very difficult. We need to build a trusting relationship with the county attorney's office and with police. There needs to be transparency, and I will work very hard for transparency. One of the areas that we need transparency is charging decisions.
Right.
When police come to the county attorney, whether or not a crime is charged out. And oftentimes, it's like a black box.
Right.
You can't tell the reasons why a case is charged out or not charged out. And sometimes it has to do with the quality of the evidence that we have available. But that has to be a transparent decision.
Right. At the time when
those helps build trust. I believe cameras, body cameras, quad cameras, I mean, that is a slick invention. It's something that has really opened the eyes of so many people to the risks of being in the community and of doing police work. And it's so important in cases to have good body cams or squad cams. And forensics, of course. We're getting better and better with DNA evidence and many of the forensics that are used as evidence in court cases now. But we need to keep on the cutting edge, the best available, so that jurors are convinced, this is a good case and can seek justice. But politics won't drive things. We'll look at the facts, the evidence, and the law, and look for justice in that respect.
Right. Yeah. At the time, I was executive director for Oromo community when those youth were shot, and I went over and over, and we just could not get an answer. They were not investigating. They just refused to investigate. And then there were three of them shot. One of them survived. Two of them died on the spot. When the police got there, they were dead. But one of them was in a coma for 30 days, and he woke up 30 days later out of the coma. And he said he feared for his life, and he refused to tell who shot them. To this day, he said, "I'm still scared. I can't say who shot us." That's
Well,
how
that's
much.
a troubling story,
Yeah,
and
that's how
we
much.
do, yeah, we do hear that, and it's they have the old adage, if you snitch, you get stitches. Yeah, stitches for snitchers.
Right.
That, and that's sad. It is a signal that we are failing in terms of having transparency and having the confidence of the community, and we need that.
Right. It's just because the criminals are too emboldened. The
And we need to have an appropriate and swift consequence to crime.
And that's during the time where my conservative stance got more stronger, and I resigned from my post too, because even the communities still want to be investing in the liberals and voting for the liberal candidates, and we get nothing out of them. And that's why I feel like in Hennepin County, especially, voters like should vote conservative in this election, because all across the seats they voted blue in Hennepin County. And if we vote red this time around, we got nothing to lose. I feel like, do we have something to lose, the minority communities particularly, or the Democrats in general? If we vote conservative, what is there that we're gonna lose if we vote conservative? We're not getting security right now.
Well, one of the things that I was surprised at, pleasantly surprised at, was what happened in San Francisco. San Francisco is one of the most liberal cities in the country.
Right.
Yet at the same time, their citizens cried out and said, "We want to have law enforced. We want to have order." And they recognize the rights of people to protest. They recognize the rights of people to exercise all the rights they have under the Constitution and the Bill of Rights. But at the same time, they want to have it in an orderly fashion, so that it secures the rights of other people. So you recognize the rights of the protester. You also recognize the rights of somebody to go to the shop, or the rights of somebody to have a shop. And so many immigrants, what I really admire about the immigrant community is that they're so entrepreneurial. The immigrant community, if allowed the freedoms that we celebrate in our country, can really do so well. And they do so well by pursuing business opportunities and small businesses, sometimes to serve the immigrant community. But they do very well in doing that, and it's to be admired on every level.
I'm sorry, my mic was muted for the like you said, the immigrant communities work very hard when we land in America, because we come from a dictator countries where we're not allowed to have businesses. It's that dream that comes here to America. That's, I think that's what motivates new immigrants, especially to do businesses. But for business, it's the Republican Party that is healthy. Republican Party is better for business.
Well, it's
So
certainly better for working people. If
exactly.
you go
So
out and work hard, I think there are so many opportunities that are recognized in the Republican platform, and conservative Democrats understand this too. What has really been a sea change has been seeing so many of construction laborers, people who use their hands in their work, in their job, truck drivers, so many labor organizations, working men and women that are looking at Republican candidates as well as Democrat candidates. But I've seen so many people who are mainstream Minnesotans look to the Republican Party as well as the Democratic Party. So I think that's been so encouraging to see. And if you look at San Francisco, you look at Seattle, you look at what's happening in Philadelphia, they want to have a county attorney that will just have the county attorney do their job.
Right.
And in fact, to have our system of justice work, you want the county attorney to be the prosecutor, you want the public defender to be the public defender, and you want the court to be impartial. And we need to do that. And that's why I'm running for county attorneys, so that county attorneys can do their job in a professional manner.
For sure. As an attorney for a county, you enforce the laws, but where the Democrats got us, the immigrants, the new immigrants, where the Democrats got us is in two issues. Because of two issues, we lose every other values that we have on the election night. These are the two issues. Number one is immigration. The Republicans are here to deport you. But unfortunately, even during Obama time is when majority of the people got deported.
And
But
what
during-
I've noticed is that in recent years, immigrant communities are beginning to recognize the need for an orderly system of immigration. And that's something I know it's difficult to work through Congress and with the president, but it's so important, I believe, that we have a good legal immigration system.
Mhm.
And immigrant communities appreciate that,
Right.
and have been voting accordingly.
Mm-hmm.
And that's something I went to the Super Eid 2 weeks ago, or it was about 10 days ago now.
Yeah, at the
Yeah.
U.S. Bank.
Yeah, it was at the U.S. Bank Stadium, and I was so enthused by the reception I got. It was a very good reception. People seem to share the values that I'm bringing to the race of just having safer streets and safer neighborhoods
Right.
and a safer Hennepin County. Many of the immigrants who are at Super Eid support those concepts,
Oh yeah.
and they're very family oriented, exceptionally family oriented. They brought their whole family to Super Eid.
Oh yeah. Yeah, the issue is immigration being one of them. The second one is poverty. The Republicans gonna take away your housing. They're gonna take away your food, medical. They're gonna take away your school. They're gonna take away everything. We are here to give you everything free.
Yeah,
They kind of get the immigrants. They kind of get us with that a lot. Just those two issues. Imagine all those people you saw at the U.S. Bank Stadium. They all against abortion. That is kind of one of the highest values in life, because that is about life, right?
no, I sense that the people at Super Eid really cared about families and about children, and that's reflected in their view of life and their respect for life, and that's something that I picked up at Super Eid.
Sure.
But you talked about poverty a little bit, and it's a philosophy of mine and many people who are more likely to be on the Republican side, that it's better to teach a person to fish than to give them fish.
Exactly.
Because
They never get out of
they'll
poverty.
be fed forever if they're taught to fish,
Mm-hmm.
but you're fed for a day if you're given a fish.
Mm-hmm.
So if you become dependent on the government, it means you'll always be dependent on the government.
Right.
But if you are able to pick up skills, and the government may teach you those skills, or you may pick up the skills some other place, that gives you ability then
Mm-hmm.
to support yourself, regardless of whether the government is giving you something or not.
Exactly.
And usually people who pick up those skills are able to succeed in a far better manner
Right.
than if you're dependent upon government for everything in your life. So that's something that I'm a believer in, that we should do everything possible to empower people,
That's why I switched the party.
with
As soon
skills.
as I completed my education, my understanding of politics
And I
got better.
commend you for the
I got to
education
switch
you've
for the better.
received. When I've looked at how do people break out of poverty, I recognize two things. I mean, a lot of times people have faith, but they usually have a family support system. Yeah,
Right.
if you have a family support system, that helps a lot.
Exactly.
And education.
Mm-hmm.
If you have education, a family support system, faith and hard work, you're on your way.
Exactly.
But you have to value family. You have to value an education, faith and hard work. You are absolutely on your way.
Mm-hmm.
And most recent immigrants know that. I mean, what I find is that most recent immigrants are here because they had to kind of fight and claw their way to get here.
Exactly.
They had
Exactly.
to do some planning.
Right.
They had some aspirations,
Mm-hmm.
and they came here. And now they have the ability to start a business or to learn
Right.
and to have a family
Mm-hmm.
and to have faith and to work hard.
For
And
sure.
that's what's going to mean success.
100%. That philosophy, the hand that can feed you at any given time can choose to starve you. So therefore, it's good that we all have a law that applies to everybody, and then you can go work out as hard as you wish to. Otherwise, if you just sit there and wait for somebody else to feed you, that person can just choose to not feed you one of these days. And then I think the main reason why the Democratic Party uses poverty and immigration on people is I think they want to keep us dependent on them, the politicians. If we're dependent on them, they will remain in office forever and ever. Like
Well,
Nancy Pelosi, you look
I
at
think we
Washington.
need to empower. We just need to empower people, and I haven't met people who are more hardworking than recent immigrants.
Right,
So I think you're given a gift if you can work hard,
100%.
and certainly you're given a gift if you have faith. You're given a gift if you have family, and you're given a gift if you have education.
For sure.
But we have all those available in our country.
For sure. We're getting toward the hour, toward the end of the show. What kind of programs do you anticipate if you get into Hennepin County Attorney job in the future?
Well, the main thing is we're going to make sure in prosecuting crime, we follow the facts, follow the evidence, and
Mm-hmm.
apply the law without fear, without favor.
Mm-hmm.
Secondly, we'll try to come up with good programs in terms of juvenile justice.
Mm-hmm.
Young people need to have the opportunity to succeed.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes they get off on the wrong foot. They aren't
Mm-hmm.
given the right tools or whatever. We need to fill the gaps in juvenile justice.
Right.
We need to fill the gaps in terms of mental health.
Mm-hmm.
There's no reason you should be in jail because you are mentally ill.
Mm-hmm.
We need to fill those gaps. I would look at making sure victims come first and focus on those victims. We'd prosecute violent crime, try to address the fentanyl problem, try
Mm-hmm.
to address the carjacking problem.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we'd have the tools to do that. And I need your support. I need your support on August 9th, or you can go in and vote earlier.
Right.
But vote for Tad Jude for Hennepin County Attorney.
For sure.
And with your support, we'll be able to solve some of these problems. I promise you I'll work hard.
Mm-hmm.
I promise you I'll be a county attorney who will be on site. I will promise professional management of the office.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll work with you and the community and recent immigrants so that we can all succeed and have those safer neighborhoods, safer streets.
For sure. For sure. For sure. For me too, speaking to my particularly the Oromo community and the rest of immigrants around the world, we left our countries because that country is most likely oppressive. If it's not oppressive, it's probably very poor country. Why are they poor? Is most likely because that government in that particular country is not giving you freedom for you to go catch your own fish. Now we
I
leave
will
these
work
countries
for freedoms. I will absolutely work for freedoms.
for sure. A human being generally wants to be free. That's why we end up in America, a country that is the most free in the rest of the world when we compare it to the rest of the world, and the country that is most diversified, and the country that accepts almost a million people. America gives about 900,000 green cards every year. Now, when we come to America, some people say, forget about the borders. Some people say, but a country needs a border. Just like the same way we value our countries, the countries that we left, the way we value independence for our countries, the way we value freedom for our countries. When we come to America, it's important that we respect those freedoms and values that America has established. Is there some injustices? Society's always been working to improve that injustices. Like Tajud here, he's promising a fair prosecution across because he cannot make the rules. The legislators, the elected officials, and the politics make that rules, and he enforces the rules made by the politicians in the legislation. So therefore, if immigration should never ever scare you guys not to be conservative. Poverty should never ever scare new immigrant not to vote conservative. It's not true. When Republicans get in the office, all these social services, they remain in place. They're not going to be taken away. So don't be scared to be conservative because other than these two issues, I know the immigrant community entirely lives a life of a conservative. Particularly the entire Muslim community is strictly conservative. It's just that on the election day, we lose our values. We shouldn't lose those values because the Democrats scare us with, I'm going to deport you back to your country. But this country, America, has given 900,000 plus green cards. And so many other people in business and entertainment get a visa and they come to America and they showcase their talent. Because of that, I encourage you all in Hennepin County to vote conservative. We have nothing to lose. Hennepin County is still one of the most poorest county for a very, very, very long time. Across the table, everybody representing Hennepin County at a 99% rate are all Democrats. And why are you guys still poor in Hennepin County? Why is the crime still so intense in Hennepin County? Maybe the Democrats want to keep you dependent on the politicians. You got to get out of the dependency of the politicians to be free to improve your standard of living. That is the message I have for my audiences. Any last thing you want to say, Todd?
Well, I appreciate the opportunity to visit with you tonight, Ace, and
Sure.
I look forward to visiting with members of the community. And I'd encourage everybody to get out and vote in the primary election And you can vote early. You can vote even today, but vote for sure by August 9th. The actual election day is August 9th, and I would appreciate your support. I'd ask for your vote. Thank you.
For sure. Thank you, Todd. Good luck in this election. I hope you win because I like freedom.
Absolutely. Thanks, Hayes.
Thank you. And the audiences, please do share before you get off, and I appreciate you guys. And I will return. This is a special interview. So for our regular 11 p.m. interview, I'll be back in about 3 hours, 2.5 to 3 hours from here. Yeah, I'll be back. I appreciate you all. Thank you. Have a wonderful night. Peace.